Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha
Yashodanandana Bhajanarandana Bhajanarandana Jamunadhira Vanachari Jamunadhira Vanachari Jayarata Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Vitakacharya Sutta Sarshi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to
Hare
Sri
Krishna.
and Gauranga. Jai.
Jai Shri Ram. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare.
We're
Hare
reading
Krishna.
Haribo.
Yeah,
We're reading
yeah, I would
from
like to.
Bhagavad.
Yeah, I would like to start. Introducing. I think many devotees doesn't know you yourself.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
we are very fortunate to have Her Grace Narayani Mataji. She's a very senior Srila Prabhupada disciple who joined ISKCON in 1970 in Boston. And Narayani Mataji has been serving as serving the deities. I remember the past times where even in pregnancy, giving birth to a child, who was taking care of the deities, like even very next day. So sincerely serving for many years, preaching, book distribution, and Mataji has been traveling and preaching. So her extensive work and service is in VIHE, for Bhakti Sastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, and Bhakti Vedanta. And she also have helped in writing manuscripts for these courses. And she generally stays in Vrindavan most of the time and preaching and training many students. Like Patri Prabhu and us, like we are so fortunate to have him from Nepal itself. Through his Patri Prabhu's grace, we had her association, and we were always inspired by her, touched, and many times, many seminars, and many very personal moments we have with Mataji. We are very fortunate, and please keep open for your questions. And Mataji is here. We can have this wonderful opportunities to gain some knowledge and transpire through our life. Thank you so much, Mataji, for coming. We welcome you, and hopefully we can invite you again. Yes, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So today we're going to read from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 6. Bandhur atmatmanastasya yenatmai vatmana jita natmanastishatutve varte tatmai vashatuvat. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his very mind will be the greatest enemy. Purport. The purpose of practicing a full yoga is to control the mind in order to make it a friend in discharging the human mission. Unless the mind is controlled, the practice of yoga for show is simply a waste of time. One who cannot control his mind lives always with the greatest enemy, and thus his life and its mission are spoiled. The constitutional position of a living entity is to carry out the order of the superior. As long as one's mind remains an unconquered enemy, one has to serve dictations of lust, anger, avarice, illusion, etc. But When the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the personality of Godhead, who is situated within the heart of everyone, is Paramatma. Real yoga practice entails meeting the Paramatma in the heart and then following his dictation. For one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, perfect surrender to dictation of the Lord follows automatically. Mukam karati vachalam pangam langayate girim yakifam tamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjara Shalakaya Chakshumiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. And so here it talks about the mind, uncontrolled mind, the mad mind. Now, in later on in 6th chapter, in the purport of verse 35, Srila Prabhupada gives us a prescription for the mad mind. Prabhupada says, hearing of the transcendental activities of Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind. And eating food offered to Krishna is appropriate diet for the suffering patient. So we have prescription, hear about Krishna, and we have the diet, prasadam. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. And so we all, many times Srila Prabhupada said, he compared this material world to a mental institution, a madhouse. One time he tells a story of one man who was being charged of murder. And so the person came to the judge and said, actually, I'm crazy. That's why I did it. So the judge said, okay, I'll send you to the psychiatrist and we'll see what the psychiatrist says. So then they brought the psychiatrist. Judge asked psychiatrist, is he crazy? And the psychiatrist said, as far as I know, everyone is crazy. So he must also be crazy because everybody is crazy. And so he has observed, Prabhupada observed that also, that everyone is crazy. When I first joined, the first pamphlet I got of Krishna consciousness was a small pamphlet, Who is Crazy? And Srila Prabhupada was saying that everyone says devotees are crazy, but actually everyone is crazy but the devotees. So that was a really nice pamphlet. It was a good pamphlet. So this hearing and the diet, the most important thing in spiritual life is balance. What does balance mean? In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, he who is regulated, this is 6.17, he who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. And so Prabhupada in the purport of that verse gives a prescription if you want to be a yogi at home. Now many people are at home, staying at home. So how to do it, how to be a yogi at home. This is, Prabhupada says, if you want to be a yogi at home, other engagements should be moderate. You cannot work hard for a living and be a yogi. You should eat moderately, gratify the senses moderately, work should be anxiety-less. You shouldn't dream more, and you shouldn't wake up at night. Wake. The more one can reduce, you'll keep good health for spiritual practices. So balance. The mode of goodness is balance. The other modes are there, but they're under control of the mode of goodness. So that's what it means to be in the mode of goodness, have regulation of your life, eating, sleeping, working, and recreation. And a very interesting thing, and what will be the result if you do this? You can mitigate all material pains. You'll be healthy if your life is balanced. So this is the prescription how to be a yogi, to regulate. Interesting thing in Ayurveda, the same word, the essence of Ayurveda is balance. You have to balance the dosas. So Ayurveda and mode of goodness, and they are the same idea. You have to have balance. So one time Prabhupada was lecturing on this verse about regulation, eating, sleeping, working. And there was one small boy in the class, about 8 years old. So he asked Srila Prabhupada, you say if you eat too much, you will pay. So how about the devotee? If the devotee eats too much prasadam? He asked Prabhupada. So Prabhupada said, you want to eat more? And the boy said, I just want to know how. So Prabhupada said, you think you're eating more? You can eat more. It is medical advice. There are two kinds of mistakes in eating: overeating and undereating. The undereating mistake for old men is very good. An overeating mistake for boys, that is good. So you can overeat, I cannot. So then the boy said, how about Tamal Krishna and Vishnuja Maharaj? Can they overeat? Prabhupada said, no, they cannot. You can. They cannot. Smart boy. So anyway, if we read Prahlad Maharaj's instructions in 7th Canto, 8th chapter, he was trying to preach to his father, please give up your demonic mentality. Do not discriminate in your heart between enemies and friends. Make your mind equipoised toward everyone. Except for the uncontrolled and misguided mind, there is no enemy in this world. When one sees everyone on the platform of equality, one comes to the position of worshiping the Lord perfectly. So when Prahlad was telling the best thing he learned in school was to worship Vishnu, then his father got so angry with him. He said, he is our enemy. Vishnu is our enemy. He killed my brother. How can you worship him? And then Prahlad is saying, no, he's not the enemy. Your mind is your enemy. That's your worst enemy. And so Prahlad was trying to help his father. And so this purport, it tells the purpose of yoga is to make the mind a friend. We want to make our mind a friend. And unless we control our mind, yoga is a waste of time. So there is a verse in Bhagavatam, even if he goes from forest to forest, one who is not self-controlled must always fear material bondage because he's living with 6 co-wives, his mind and knowledge-acquiring senses. But if in Grihastha life, these cannot harm a self-satisfied learned man who has conquered his senses. So the senses are dangerous, but if we use them for Krishna, then they can actually help us to get out from this bondage. Arjuna compared the mind to the wind in Bhagavad Gita. It's just like the wind, I cannot control. So if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, the wind is one of our 24 gurus, the wind. So what can we learn from the wind? Here it says in Bhagavatam, when the wind blows in many directions at once, the atmosphere becomes agitated. Similarly, if the mind is constantly attracted and repelled by material objects, there will be such mental disturbance it will be impossible to think of the absolute truth. So one should learn from the blowing wind the art of moving throughout the material world without attachment. So we see the wind. If it goes over a flower garden, it will pick up beautiful aromas, beautiful smells. And it picks them up, it carries them for some time, and then it drops. It lets them go. So sometimes the wind goes over the garbage dump. It picks up very bad smells, carries for some time, and drops. So in our lives, sometimes we pick up happiness. We carry the happiness for some time, then we have to drop it. And we pick up sometimes distress. Carry it for some time, but then you have to drop it. So that we have to learn from the wind how to let go. And don't carry these things. They come and they will go. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mata sparshas tu konteya shitosna sukadaha. Agama paino nitya stam stiti shasa bharata. You have to learn to tolerate the change of seasons, the change from happiness to distress. So sometimes we lose control. Here, when the mind is conquered, one agrees to abide by the dictation of the personality of Godhead. But before that, Krishna talks about, Prabhupada talks, actually, one who you cannot control the mind lives with the greatest enemies. So there are 6 enemies that we have: Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya. Lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and enviousness. These are our 6 enemies. So first comes kama. If our lust is not fulfilled, then we get angry. Krodha. Kama, krodha. And then moha, we become illusioned. And then greed, lobha. You become angry, then you become very greedy. You want more. So one of the richest men in America, his name was J. Paul Getty. He's not living anymore. One time somebody asked him, what is your philosophy? And he said his philosophy in one word, more. Even though he had so much, he was not satisfied. He wanted more. So this is greed, and this is the problem in the world today. And this is a symptom of our modern society, is greed for wealth. In Bhagavatam 11:23, it says, in the earning, attainment, increase, protection, expense, loss, and enjoyment of wealth, all men experience great labor, fear, anxiety, and delusion. So there are 15 undesirable qualities come from hoarded wealth: theft, violence, speaking lies, duplicity, lust, anger, perplexity, pride, quarreling, enmity, faithlessness, envy, and the dangers caused by women, gambling, and intoxication. This is all coming from greed for wealth. So one of my friends, he was on book distribution in Ireland, and he met one man, and he was talking to this man. In Ireland, there's lots of rivers and lakes. So this man said to him, the happiest day of my life was when I bought my boat, because everybody goes around in boats there. There's a lot of islands and rivers. And but then after a few minutes, the man said, then the happiest day of my life was when I sold my boat, because it was so difficult to maintain. And so we get these things, we think, oh, this will make me happy. But then we're not satisfied with the things. So how to conquer these 6 enemies? Narottam Das Thakur says that we can transform all these 6 things into, by using them for Krishna. We can use kama, lust, for serving Krishna. An ordinary person will work hard day and night to satisfy his lust, to satisfy his family. Similarly, a devotee can work hard day and night to satisfy Krishna. Anger was Hanuman. He was the example. He used anger in the service of Krishna. And if we engage our senses in service of Krishna, then we won't remain servant of the senses. We'll be servant of Krishna. Goswami. Now in the material world, most people are Godasa. They are servant of the senses. So there is a fight in our heart for who will win the fight. There's an old Indian fable of two dogs fighting. There's the material dog, the sinful dog, and he's in our heart and he wants us and he's trying to control us. Then there's the spiritual dog, the higher self, and he's in our heart and he's also trying to control us. So how do we know which of these dogs will win? It's the one you feed the most. You feed your material dog will eat you up. You feed the spiritual dog, and the spiritual dog will take you back to Godhead. And so sometimes in India especially, they think spiritual life means, oh, I have to just give up everything, renounce everything. But Narottam Das Thakur says, no, you can be a grihastha, you can be vanaprastha. You can simply use the senses in service of Krishna. You cannot make this world zero. You cannot make zero. Like the Mayavadis, they want to, they think the way to become free from suffering is to detach oneself from this world. Take out, Prabhupada gives the example, your eye is diseased, so take out the eye. We don't say that. We say, no, cure the eye. Make your eye full of prema so you can see Krishna. That's what we say. Make your mind a friend. We make your mind a friend. So Prabhupada gives example of himself. He says, lusty people, they do things for their sense gratification, but the same desire can be used for serving Krishna. He said, just like we are writing books all night, we're just writing. Old man, I'm an old man, Prabhupada said, and it's very tedious, but we're doing it for Krishna. So another author may be writing the whole night for some sex literature. So that labor and my labor is the same maybe same ambition. Let me become a big author, my name will be popular. But one thing is being done for Krishna and one thing is being done for sense gratification. Of course, Prabhupada, he didn't have that desire to be a big author. He wanted to save the humanity by his books. And so now so many people are angry, but it's no use. It's just for sense gratification that they're writing and burning. Hanuman did it for the service of Ram. So moha, illusion. Now greed also. Greed, you can be greedy for service for Krishna and be greedy to hear about Krishna. That way we can use greed in the service of Krishna. And moha, how do you use illusion? Prabhupada gives the example of Lord Chaitanya. Without seeing Krishna, this world is illusion for me. I cannot be happy in this world. Just like if someone dear to you has died, then everything looks like zero. But if we have developed our love for Krishna, we don't see Krishna, then Shujayitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahaname. We cannot see Krishna, and our heart is broken by not seeing Krishna, but still we love him. And so that is pure love. And that is an example of moha. So now how can we get protected from these different enemies? If you look at Krishna's lotus feet, on one of his feet, there is a symbol of a chakra, a wheel. If you meditate on that wheel, on that chakra on Krishna's lotus feet, then that can cut down your 6 enemies. And you will get protection. Also, if you chant Hare Krishna, you will get protection from this material world, the dangers here. There was one example in Jadumna Swami. He was on an airplane, and the airplane was trying to land, and every time the plane would try to land, it would start shaking violently, and the pilot had to go back up in the sky. He had to abort the landing. So the first time that happened, Maharaj was chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Christians were chanting, Jesus, Jesus. Muslims were chanting, Allah. Plane went back up. But there was a man next to Indaduna Maharaj, a scientist. He said, Swamiji, I do not believe in all these things. And so then the plane went down again. It started shaking violently, and they aborted the landing, went back up. And so then the scientist said, what was that you're saying? Tell me. And so Maharaj said, Hare Krishna. No, whole thing. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So the pilot made an announcement, we're going to try one more time. And if we do not succeed this time, we will go back to our destination. Plane went down, everybody was chanting, plane was shaking, and the plane landed. So Maharaj turned to the scientist and he said, now do you believe? And the scientist said, maybe. So Maharaj gave him here's my card. If you have any questions, you can contact me. And so, this was, if you chant Hare Krishna, you get protection from dangerous life. And now life is very dangerous in this material world we're seeing. Now, what else can you be protected from? There are so many things to be protected from. Danger. Sometimes we also have anxiety for our future maintenance. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, if you meditate on me with devotion, Meditating on my transcendental form, I carry what you lack and preserve what you have. And so Prabhupada writes in a lecture, the devotees have no anxiety over what will happen next, where they will stay, what they will eat, for everything is maintained by Krishna, supplied by him. As he says in the 9th chapter, declared boldly, my devotee shall never be vanquished. So if we surrender to Krishna, we depend on him, then he will take care of us. Prahlad Maharaj had that feeling. He was a small child, and so like a small child, he doesn't worry that he just depends on his parents. And so we have to also depend on Krishna for our maintenance, and that is one of the 6 symptoms of surrender, that we feel the Lord will maintain me. So first of all, maintenance and also danger, and also Krishna will protect us from falling away from devotional service. If we see in Bhagavatam, there are so many devotees who fell down. Chitraketu became a demon, and the Dhumraj became an elephant, Maharaj Bharat became a deer, but they were still protected by the Supreme Lord. The deer remembered his relationship with the Lord and took next birth in a good Brahminical family and performed devotional service. He was preaching. Chitraketu fell down, became a demon, Vritrashura, but he was protected. He did not lose his prema from previous life. And so we are protected. Some of us maybe were devotees in our last life, but we did something, and so we had to be born in the Western countries. We had to eat meat. We had to do so many things. But somehow or other, when Prabhupada called us, then we just left those things and we ran to him. And so that is the protection of Krishna, that even if you do not succeed in devotional service in this life, you are protected in your next birth. So protection from fall down, protection from Maya is also another thing, especially you chant Hare Krishna. Maya cannot do anything. Vishnu Jan Maharaj used to say, if you chant your 16 rounds, then you have a shield over you that protects you from Maya. And Srila Prabhupada was asked also by one devotee, what happens if we don't chant our 16 rounds? He said, if you don't chant, then your whereabouts are unknown. And so we have to chant our 16 rounds. Then you also get protection from anarthas. All good qualities will manifest. It's described by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says that Prahlad Maharaj had all the divine qualities. Hiranyakashipu had all the demonic qualities. And we are somewhere in between Prahlad and Hiranyakashipu. We have a little of this, a little of that. So, but we need to cultivate the divine qualities. And if we seriously serve Krishna, if we try to follow our Guru, follow his instructions every day, and he will help us to develop the divine qualities. You come to the level of Nishta, that's a symptom of Nisha, that Nishta, the good qualities are coming. So Srila Prabhupada says now the devotee, you may think, oh, here's some bad qualities. But the example is just like a fan. When you turn off the fan, and it still moves a little bit, even though the electric power is switched off. So when you become a devotee, our fan is switched off, our karma is switched off, but still it moves a little bit until it stops. And so that's what we may experience in this life. It may take some time, but eventually our real self will shine. Our real self will come out, and our devotional qualities will manifest. So this is, we have to give chance to devotees. You might see some bad habits, so we should not reject the devotee, give them a chance, because they're trying to do devotional service. So then another protection, we've heard about, okay, we'll be protected, we'll develop good qualities, we'll be protected from danger, we'll be protected from our 6 enemies, Kam, Krodh, Lobh. We'll be protected from anxiety over future maintenance, protection from fall down, protection from Maya, protection from our anarthas. We have these anarthas in our heart, sinful desires. But there's only one sinful desire. We don't surrender to Krishna, Prabhupada says. So we need to surrender. You surrender, and Krishna says, I will give you all protection from your sinful reactions. So sometimes you may think it's very difficult, you know. And I chant, and sometimes these desires are coming up, and I didn't even know I had these desires. They're not from this life. So why is that? Why does they come up sometimes when we are chanting and we're trying to really seriously meditate on the holy name? Why do these desires come? Prabhupada, one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada the question that it seems like since I'm a devotee, I have more bad qualities. And I see them. And so Prabhupada said, it's like this. If you have a house that has not been cleaned for many, many years, then when you start cleaning the house, you start sweeping, the dust will fly in the air. So our heart has been dirty for so many births. And now we're cleaning our heart. Chitta Darpana Marjanam. We're cleaning. The mirror of our heart is cleaned by chanting Hare Krishna. And so then the dust is flying. And we see it. But we should not go after it. We should not go after that dust. But we should be peaceful and hear the holy name. Meditate on Krishna. Please accept me as your servant. So you might have a question. Okay, you say Krishna protects you. Krishna says you surrender, I protect you. But you may wonder, when does that protection start? You know, do I have to be a devotee 20 years, 30 years, 40 years? Or maybe right from the first day? I mean, does it come? Prabhupada answers that question in a purport of 9th canto, the story of Ambarish Maharaj. Ambarish Maharaj was a great king. He depended on Krishna. Jarasa Muni was a great yogi. He tried to kill the king, Ambarish Maharaj, just because he drank water before him. He created a huge demon to kill Ambarish Maharaj. But the Lord knows how to protect his devotee. The Lord knew everything. So even before all this happened, he arranged for his chakra to protect Maharaj Ambarish. So this protection is offered to devotee, Prabhupada says, from the very beginning of his devotional service. So right from the very beginning, we got protection from Krishna. That's what Prabhupada says that. So if a pure devotee says something, the words must come true. Prabhupada says we get protection from the very beginning. He says in that purport 9.4.48, if one simply begins devotional service, he's immediately protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Protection begins immediately. Lord is so kind and merciful. He gives the devotee proper guidance and protection. And the devotee peacefully makes solid progress in Krishna consciousness. So although an enemy of devotee may be very strong, he's compared to an angry serpent before the fire of devotional service. So very difficult to control the restless mind, but if we offer our mind to Krishna and let him take control, then he will surely help us. So I'd like to conclude with one prayer from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Katanchana smite yasmin duskaram sukaram bhave vismite viparitam syachi Chaitanya namamitam. Things that are very difficult to do become easy to execute if one somehow or other simply remembers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But if one does not remember him, even easy things become difficult. To this Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I offer my respectful obeisances. So we have heard how to control the mad mind, how Krishna gives protection. And so if we should try in our daily lives somehow to surrender, to accept Krishna in our life, and then he will certainly protect us. So I'll stop here if there's any questions or comments at this point.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Am I
Hare
audible?
Krishna.
Yes.
Dandavat Pranam. Very nice class, beautiful class. So many words of wisdom, so highly intellectual and full of instructions. Thank you so much. Before I ask my question, I would like to beg your pardon that I may not be absolutely right when talking. So, am I audible enough? Am I?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So in the talk, you mentioned that the example where Swami Maharaj was encountered the scientist, right? So taking that as an example, but more often a case we encounter in our daily life, practicing the Krishna consciousness in daily life. So we encounter a materialist person, a non-Krishna conscious person, and usually they argue us that so many difficult situations, why can't Krishna protect? Or in that particular example, the faith that Krishna will protect is definitely there, but Krishna has a master plan which we cannot understand. If I'm thinking that the plane will not fall down, is the thing Krishna going to protect us with that? But may not be the case. So should we venture on challenging the other people that plane will not fall down because I'm chanting Krishna's name?
And so your question is that how we should preach to people, that if you chant Hare Krishna, the plane will not fall down?
I'm just taking that an example. But there are many things I think you can understand. There's so many examples happen in the daily life. And we are challenged that, okay, you're chanting so much, your devotional life is so much, but things are happening. Can you protect? Can you avoid them?
Right. So that is answered in a purport of 256 in Bhagavad Gita. That what happens when when these things happen to a devotee? How does he see them? Prabhupada says, a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds, and he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. So the devotee, when something difficult happens to the devotee, he sees the hand of the Lord in it. He sees, oh, this is my Lord. He's trying to teach me a lesson. What is the lesson I should learn? What is his message here? What message do I get from Krishna in this situation? And the devotee is humble. He thinks, oh yes, okay, this is my karma. But I see that it's not so bad as it should have been. Instead of dying, I just broke my arm. Instead of losing my life. That's how the devotee thinks. And the prayers of Brahma, 10th canto, 14th chapter, Lord Brahma gives the mentality of the devotee. Tatenu kampam susamikshmana. He hopes against hope for the mercy of the Lord. And that mercy can come as difficulties or as happiness. Happiness or distress seemingly come to a devotee, but he sees that, oh, this is a way I can get closer to Krishna. Krishna is bringing me closer to him. And I'm seeing the hand of the Lord here. So then the second, it says, the Tenu Kampansu Samikshmano Bunjana Ivatma Kitam. He tolerates the reactions to his past misdeeds. And then what is his behavior? Pridvalva Purvir Vidadana, that with body, mind, and words, he keeps on with his devotional service. Just like one time Srila Prabhupada was giving a class in Gita in India, and one man raised the question. He said, I think Arjuna is not a pure devotee because he heard the Bhagavad Gita, you should not lament for anyone. But then when his son died, he lamented. And so Prabhupada said, no, that is natural. But the proof that he was a pure devotee was that even though his son died, he did not give up his devotional service. He fought even more strongly the next day. So the devotee, the proof of the faith of the devotee is that he does not leave Krishna, even though difficult things happen to him. He sees that, this is minimized. I should have gotten much more, but Krishna is reducing this. So it is minimized. My karma is much worse. I should have suffered. That's the humility of the devotee. So he doesn't see the miseries. He doesn't see the miseries like that. And that's the mentality. Now, if a materialistic person, something happens, he said, why is God doing this to me? Devotee, why me? Why is this happening to me? One time that happened to me. And I said, then after I thought, well, why not me? Why am I so special that it shouldn't happen to me? And so Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj used to ask the question in his classes, so have you ever had something happen to you and then you say, why me? Or have you seen somebody suffering and think, oh wow, I'm glad it's not me? Or have you ever seen someone suffering and think, oh, why not me? I wish I could suffer instead of that person. So that's a Vaishnava. The Vaishnava wants to take the suffering of others. Prabhupada gives the example of Christ. Srila Prabhupada also, he suffered for us. He went on that boat. Nobody goes by boat from India to America. I don't think any of you did that. Nor will you ever do that on a freighter, not even a passenger boat. You take a boat ride for 1 month on the Atlantic Ocean. And after having 2 heart attacks, you don't go back to India. You try to preach. So what Prabhupada, how he suffered just to make us devotees, just to save us. So that's the mentality of the devotee, that yes, the devotee accepts the suffering as mercy of the Lord. Maybe if I give class again, I can talk about that verse 256, and talk more about that, how these threefold miseries can be counteracted, can be reduced. Yes, how to preach to these people, to just say, yes, well, we accept this as the Lord's plan. We do not know his plan, but we do know it's for the best thing for us. It's the best thing. We do not know what's the best thing, but the Lord knows what's the best thing, how to bring our consciousness, elevate our consciousness into the spiritual world, elevate us to the spiritual world. So that's how the devotee thinks. A non-devotee, if something good happens, he thinks, oh, it's my credit. I work so hard. I'm so intelligent. The devotee thinks, oh, this is Krishna. If something good happens, Krishna's mercy. This is because of Krishna that I'm getting all these good things happening to me. I'm getting these opportunities. Any other question?
Thank you, Mataji. That was a wonderful answer. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I have a question regarding how can a devotee use the pride in the service of the Lord? Because
Yes. Prabhupada said how to do that. You can be proud to be a servant of Krishna. That's how you can use pride in the service of Krishna, because oftentimes when we come to the West, we are not proud to be devotees. We want to hide it. So you can be proud to be a devotee. And you can be proud that people will know you are a devotee of Krishna. And you can have confidence that you are a devotee, that you worship Krishna. And by being a devotee, you can help others, you can develop good qualities, and they will see your good qualities. So don't be shy, not to let people know you're a devotee of Krishna.
Mhm. Thank you, Mataji. And like in connection to that, is there any reference in the Bhagavatam where a devotee uses pride in the service of the Lord?
Uses pride in the service of the Lord. Well, the thing that comes to my mind is Vritarashura. He was fighting with Indra in the 6th canto. He was a demon, but he was more Krishna conscious than Indra. And he was urging Indra to kill him because he was going back to Godhead. He was very proud that he's going back to Godhead. Indra's going to stay in this material world and rot. So there's one example. He was so proud and he was preaching to Indra, just kill me. I'll go back to Godhead. My material life will be finished. And he was proud to be a devotee also. He was actually a devotee inside. Demon outside, devotee inside. And his devotional qualities came out in his prayers in 6th canto, chapter 11, that he was praying to go back to Krishna, to be again with Krishna. He was feeling separation from Krishna. Again, it's the same. He was proud to, actually, although he was born in demon family, he was proud to be a devotee. He was proud that he was going back to Godhead. And he used that pride. He was making Indra angry and trying to fight with him, making Indra fight with him.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much for the wonderful lecture. I have one question.
Okay.
Why do we get anger, and how to control that? And it's sometimes you don't understand why do you get angry and all, but you do get angry. So I just want to understand what is the main reason and how can we control?
Yeah, what makes you angry is your expectations from others. You expect them to act in a certain way that you think is the right way to act. But when they don't act that way, you get angry. We have expectations of people. And if they don't fulfill our expectation, then we get angry. So the way to counteract anger, and this is also stated by Bhishma Dev in the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, is forgiveness. We have to control our anger by forgiving. We need to forgive the people who make us angry, and we need to ask them to forgive us. And this is the way to counteract anger. And it's good to, when you get angry, if you get angry, you should start doing some deep breathing. Try to go into another room and be away from the person who you're angry with. And then you can try maybe chanting a little bit. And then when the anger passes, it's like it's the mode of ignorance coming over you. When it passes and you're more in a better state of mind, then you can try to communicate more on the mode of goodness. if you're the one that's being, but forgiveness is the counteraction. Mahatma Prabhu has some good seminars online about forgiveness, so you can look them up. And if you read Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's book, I think Spiritual Warrior 4, he has some good points how to counteract anger, depression, anxiety, fear, so many things. So you could find out some tips from his book.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the nice explanation. I have one follow-up question. You said, we get angry because we have expectations from the people. So is it wrong to have the expectation from the, your near one, or, like to put something in a particular manner? So is it wrong to have the expectation?
I mean, there is reasonable expectation and unreasonable expectation. So it is good also to let them know what your expectation is. It's good to communicate with others so they understand, what your expectation is, and find out if they can fulfill your expectation or not. It's good to communication is really important. So it's not like it's wrong or right, but there are boundaries. There are certainly boundaries that you have to find how much people can do, what is their capacity to fulfill your expectations. So you need to know their boundaries, how far they can go. And sometimes we have unreasonable expectations. So we have to find out if our expectations are reasonable or not. Communicate with people. Before you get angry, express yourself in a balanced way. And maybe that will help to counteract the anger.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
I have a question that we already have so much dirt accumulated in our hearts. So when we chant and we are engaged in the devotional service, what care should we take while we are in the process of cleaning our heart?
So you're asking about while you're chanting Hare Krishna, what care should we take?
In other words, what is the biggest obstacle on the path of progressing in devotion?
What is the biggest obstacle is our mind, our own mind. It is not something outside, it's something inside. So our own mind gives us the most trouble. So if we can pacify the mind somehow or other, give the mind happiness by chanting Hare Krishna, give the mind things to think about, ecstatic things to think about Krishna, give the mind kirtan, give the mind food for your devotional service. The mind is the main thing. So during your day, think, how can I keep my mind pacified? You can pray also. You can pray during your day, not just during japa. When you start during your day, you can also, before you do anything, you say, okay, Krishna, I'm offering this to you. Before you do it. Before you do it, then your mind will cooperate better. If you try to think ahead of time, okay, this is for Krishna. Then your mind said, okay, this is for Krishna. So these are just different things. How you need to think how your mind is happy, how you can make your mind happy. Is it bhajans, listening to lectures, listening to bhajans, going for a japa walk, having reading with friends online? You can think of what you can do to pacify the mind. The biggest obstacle is the mind's inattention, the mind's negligence, the mind's restlessness. It could be the cell phones also. That could be the biggest obstacle too, if you don't use them for Krishna. Because I see, it's like when I go to the airport, I see everybody, mother, father, daughter, son, everybody's on their cell phone. They're not talking to each other. So the cell phone could be a distraction, an obstacle too. But now, of course, we need it because we're at home. I mean, many people are not going out. So it's useful, but it can be your friend or it can be your enemy. It can be an obstacle or it can be a help. So everything in this material world is like that. And you have the choice, moment to moment, to choose, okay, am I going to use this to help me focus on Krishna, or am I going to use this to forget Krishna?
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes.
Would you mind sharing when and how you came to Krishna consciousness?
Okay. So I was in Boston, 1970, and I was going to many different gurus. I was looking for a guru. I had read books from India, and I knew I needed a guru. So I tried many different ones, few different ones. One of them told me, chant this mantra morning, evening, rest of the day, do whatever you like, and in 6 months, you will become God, or at least liberated. I tried, but not succeed. Then I met the devotees, went to a Sunday feast, and I asked them, so what's your process? And they said, chant, dance, and eat. I said, okay. So if I follow this process, what can I expect to happen? And they said, if you chant, dance, and eat prasadam, you will see the Lord face to face. I said, yes, I want to see the Lord. I don't want to be the Lord. And so then, I joined after about 3 months after I met the devotees. I joined the temple. And why I joined was because the devotees said, why don't you stay the weekend? Prabhupada is coming. Well, I stayed the weekend. Prabhupada didn't come, but he sent 4 sannyasis. And one of them was Vishnu Jan Maharaj. And I was on the street for the whole weekend on Harinam. And I was so happy. And so after that weekend, I said, I'm so happy. Why should I go back home? I went and said goodbye to my husband and I joined. And my husband joined 2 months after. He also joined too. As he was coming to the temple too and taking prasad, but he wasn't so serious as I was. But he joined too. So we joined almost about together, 2 months apart. He also joined. And he's probably a disciple also. So then we were going on Harinam. That's how I came to Krishna consciousness. And I was typing Bhagavad Gita Macmillan for typesetting. I was typesetting for the press, for Macmillan Press, Bhagavad Gita. And I was going on Harinam like 10 hours a day, 4 hours typing, 10 hours Harinam, and little sleep. And that's how I joined. It was our temple president was Satsarup Maharaj, our Harinam leader was Giriraj Maharaj, temple commander was Hridayananda Maharaj, and the whole press was there. Pradumna, Bhavananda was interior decorator, Jayadvaita was in charge of the press. And there were all the artists were there, and they were all musicians, and it was a wonderful temple. And hard not to join there. And they were having dramas every week, and really good musicians, artists. And I was attracted by the art. I was a musician also before. And so I was very attracted to everything there. The sights, the pictures, the books. I was also an avid reader. So I read all the books they had in that 3 months before I joined. It wasn't that many books, just first canto and on the boat, from the boat, and Nectar of Devotion, Krishna book. No, Krishna book came after I joined. A few books, Isha Upanishad.
Mataji, one follow-up question. Despite ups and downs, I'm sure you went through, what kept you going?
What keeps me going? Well, my service for Prabhupada. And I do have a desire to go back to Godhead at the end of this life. I don't, I'm not very comfortable in this material world, although I'm really trying hard to use everything in Krishna's service. And the older you get, the less comfortable you feel. So I do have a desire to go back to Godhead. I do have a desire to serve Srila Prabhupada while I'm here. And I feel that I have faith that if I remain a devotee of Krishna in this life, then that's the best thing I can do with my life. Even there sometimes there's difficulties. But whatever happens to me, if I leave devotional service, then I will simply suffer my karma and be miserable. And if I stay here, the karma is reduced. And I'm working either way. I have to work. I have to do something. So better I work for Krishna and go back to Godhead than end up in some old age home and be miserable. Better I use my old age trying to share what I have been given by Srila Prabhupada. I'm very grateful that he is giving me some knowledge. He's given me his books, and he's given me the ability to read them and the desire to read them. And so that keeps me reading his books, chanting Hare Krishna, especially association with devotees. That the devotees are so wonderful.
Thank you, Mataji. A question came in the chat. Hare Krishna, can you please ask you to share one of your most cherished moment with Prabhupada, and why is it so?
Yes. Well, in 1973, I was in Calcutta Temple. I was a pujari. Prabhupada came, and no, that was 1973. That was another experience, but it must have been later on, 75, 76. He came, and I had dressed the deities. It was time for Shringararti darshan. Prabhupada came for darshan. And the opulence in our temple is we had so many flowers. Every day we had 144 lotuses, 144 roses, 50 garlands of all kinds, jasmine, mogra, rose, champa, so many garlands. And Prabhupada loved the flowers in our temple. So then he sat on his Vyasasan. He was surrounded by sannyasis. And he called myself and my husband up. We were the pujaris. And he said, thank you very much for addressing the deities so nicely. And then after his class, he gave class, one sannyasi said to us, did you hear what Prabhupada said when you offered obeisances? And we said, no, we didn't hear. And Prabhupada said, be blessed. So we got the blessings of Prabhupada. And so that was probably my most wonderful moment. But what lesson I learned from that was that not only you get the blessings one day, but then the next day you have to earn the blessings again. Not that you get the blessings and you retire at the age of 25 or something, 26. All right, I got the blessings. Life is perfect. I pleased my spiritual master. No, next day you have to do again. You have to again try for the blessings every day of your spiritual master. But that was the most wonderful time. And often when he came to Calcutta Temple, he would comment on the deity worship when he came. He was always very appreciative of the deity worship in Calcutta.
Thank you, Mataji.
I would like to add a question on that, like how we can see, like, we heard about Prabhupada disciples, the followers of Prabhupada, like, but the way now the the commitment, the surrender to Guru, that kind of commitment, like I don't know, many devotees might have, but sometimes I feel it's lacking. Like, how much we can see, like when we hear Prabhupada pastimes as disciples, like the dedication. Where are we lacking somewhere? Like I feel like something is wrong, like with us, or like why is not there that connections be with our guru, or like in terms of like that surrender, that move, like Prabhupada said, and that's it. Like I'm diving in. Like that's
Burning sense.
that burning desire of service that is lacking. So how can we like imbibe that feeling?
It will come in time. I mean, we were like kind of, there was a bunch of water and we were just thrown into the water, even if we know how to swim or not. That was in Prabhupada's time. But now it's different. We have different levels of commitment. That time, everybody had to be sannyasi. Grihastha, didn't matter who you were. You had to renounce everything and just join the temple. But now it's a different situation. So I think it's more normal now. That was like an emergency situation. Prabhupada just had to come, and as fast as he could, he had to start the movement. And so he just, by his calling, we just had to come and surrender everything. But if you look at us now, I think we're not so surrendered as we used to be then. We couldn't do it, what we did in our youth. But I think not to worry. You just, the time will come when you will be in that situation. No need to get in that situation too prematurely. Go on with your life peacefully. Try to follow the instructions of your guru. Don't worry about full commitment, but do as much as you can. There are guidelines for Grihastas from Grihasta Vision team, grihastavision.org. So you can follow their guidelines for Grihastas, how to commit yourself. And I think that is sufficient for the majority of devotees nowadays. Of course, there's always devotees who are completely surrendered, giving up everything, and we should respect those devotees. We should respect them. Don't worry, it will come. You just have to keep on practicing. And don't be impatient.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Does anybody have any questions? Please.
Hare Krishna Mataji. There's one more follow-up question on the thought just talked about.
Okay.
It might be a little bit off. I'm just curious to know what is your opinion about ladies being the guru in ISKCON?
Oh, well, it's interesting you asked that question because I'm on the list to be guru. So what I think is that it was a desire of Srila Prabhupada. He did write a letter in 1975. Whoever has, he says, I want all my sons and daughters to get the Bhaktivedanta degree and initiate disciples. It was a desire of Srila Prabhupada. It is a need in ISKCON. So what I see is that it's something that Srila Prabhupada did want. He wanted hundreds of thousands of gurus, millions of gurus. Where are they going to come from? He wanted so many gurus, not just a handful. He wanted he instructed everyone to be guru. That is the instruction of Lord Chaitanya in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 18. I can't remember the exact verse. It says that even a woman can be guru, a child can become guru. A meat eater can become guru. Of course, you have to give up meat eating. And so the verse was saying that everyone should be guru and deliver this land. That's the order of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Prabhupada did not discriminate between men and women. He accepted everyone equally and gave everyone equal service. So if there is a need in ISKCON for more gurus, there is a need for women gurus, they will add a nice flavor. Personally, I'm kind of feel forced to do this because Prabhupada wants it, but and I wish it was somebody else doing it, not me. Yes, but yeah. So, but still not happening. It's still on hold, although they passed everything to go ahead, but it's not happening. So whatever Prabhupada wants, whatever Krishna wants, if that's what Prabhupada wants, then it will happen. Nobody can stop Prabhupada's desire for this. I think it will give a more balanced approach in ISKCON. It will be in India. There are so many women gurus already in other groups, women prime ministers, so many women in politics. I mean, I think India is ahead of America in that way. But they already accept the mother is the first guru. They worship the mother. And I think the mood in India is very nice that way. When I was at Pujari, people were very respectful in India, in Calcutta. And they just wanted to serve Krishna. They didn't care who was the Pujari or who wasn't. It was very simple and nice. And so, yeah, if it's desire of Prabhupada, then it will happen. Whatever is Krishna's plan. And we accept Krishna's plan.
Thank you, Mataji.
Well, there are many devotees here who are not initiated. What advice would you give to them? On one side, we heard from you how in the 70s, early days, you just give everything to Prabhupada, just surrender, join the temple. On the other side now, settle down, you have a family. But at the same time, it's got to be balanced where, don't take enough time that you're so old now and time has come to leave the body. And we've been thinking about it and don't have to wait for the next life. So what advice would you give to them?
To those who are not initiated.
Right, because many times they like the process, they are chanting, but they're still not able to make that commitment.
I see.
Around for a guru and.
Yeah, well, it's good to be careful. It's good to be careful and to choose wisely. And you should find somebody who inspires you, who you have faith in, and who you feel confident that this person can guide you in your life. And your personality should match too. And your services should match. Like you see what kind of services is this guru doing for Prabhupada, and see because if you become the disciple, you'll have to help them in that service. If your guru is a writer, you might have to help print books. If like Bhakti Marg Swami, he's an actor, you might have to be in dramas if you take initiation from him. So, and in Jajun Maharaj, you might have to go on festival tours, Harinams. And so these are some of the things you should look for, because the relationship between guru and disciple is service. So you have to see what kind of service is that guru doing for Srila Prabhupada. And then you can see, okay, am I able to help with that service? You have to see the personality also, and if you match, sometimes gurus are really loud and outgoing, and some are very more quiet and introverted. So that you have to see also. Some gurus are easily accessible, some are not. They have many thousands of disciples. You may not be able to talk to them personally. So all these things have to be seen. And yes, you have to see what the guru requires, what kind of commitment that you have to find out also. It's a personal thing between you and the guru, what sort of commitment he expects from you.
Thank you, Mataji.